everyone, this is Gail from Gail Julie Makes. I hope you're all doing well. So today we're going to be doing an image transfer. This is my own photo that I took to the copy shop and got printed as a laser print. And what I'm going to do is do some reverse painting on this. So I've got this old set from the National Gallery in the UK. This is a set of acrylics. I've never got around to using them and I'm quite excited about the colours because it's the colour palette of Van Gogh. And they're, you know, beautiful blues, greens, oranges, and, you know, that was pretty well matched up to this photo, I thought. There's a lot of green tones in the water. As you can see, it's a little bit sludgy with sort of natural growth, but it gave a really nice effect to the original photo. I'll see if I can pop that up now for a second. So yeah, I think it lands quite well to this picture. So we'll give them a go. I haven't tried those acrylics before, but I'm hoping they'll do the job quite nicely. So let's get started. First job is then, I'm going to try my usual again this week, although I have been experimenting with other acrylics to use for image transfer, but I'm going to go with my usual this time. So I'm going for my Payne's Grey, which I love those bluish tones that it gives you. And this is the Liquitex heavy body acrylic. Okay, so I'm just going to lay some down. And I know I say it all the time, if you've watched my previous videos, I always talk about the Goldilocks moment, the Goldilocks effect. So that's basically where we want just the right amount of paint or just the right amount of pressure. And if you are new to image transfer, I know this can be really frustrating. So hopefully some of my videos will help you. I mean, I will start making more videos actually on different processes on the gel plate, because I know a lot of people do say, bless them, that they give up because they can't do image transfer. But it, you know, the plate is definitely worth so much more than that. I started out by doing other work. I didn't even bother with image transfer for a long time. So you know, there's plenty of things you can do. You can go out and buy flowers and print those. You can use brushos, watercolour pigments, all sorts on the plate. So there's plenty to do, and I will show you a bit more of that. I want to be able to see through the plate, but I don't want it too thick and I don't want it too thin. So I think once I'm happy with, I think we'll probably leave it about that. And if I lift the plate up, you can sort of see through it. See what I mean? Okay, I probably could add a little bit more on there. So let's add a tiny bit more. Sometimes I kind of just get a feeling and think, I just want a little bit more actually. But, you know, the more practice you do, the more you'll come to know, because I've been doing gel plate printing probably for about 6 years now, and I've been filming for about 5. So, you know, it's just one of those things you just need to build up practice and experiment. Right, so I think I'm happy with that. And it doesn't always work. I could do this now and it might not work, which is really frustrating, especially when you're kind of dabbling with your own images as well, because you know, you just don't know if you've got the contrast right really, but we'll see. So I'm giving it another Goldilocks moment here. We want just the right amount of pressure, but as I say, you will get used to that as you do more and more. I can see I'm just pulling away a bit at the sides there. Sometimes you can just sort of tell whether it's, you know, working as you want it to or not really. So let's just see, pull away at the sides. There we go. I think I've lost the definition of the little ones, the little signets, but we can see the mum. Oh, I can see one there. So we'll just have to, what I'll probably do is I will, let's lift that up to show you. So you can see one of the little sort of signets there. And what I'll do is, once I've picked this up, I will probably go in over the top afterwards with some acrylic as well. So, you know, we can fix it. So don't stress out too much if you think, oh my gosh. As long as you can see something, I think, you know, you can use it as a base, can't you? So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to dry that off, and I have got my Babyliss air dryer. This has got a cool setting on it, so it just means that it's not damaging the plate, because if you don't want it on a hot setting and start melting your plate. Okay, so once I'm happy that's dry, I think I will go in. Annoyingly, I haven't got my wet wipes with me today, so I'm just going to go in with a wet piece of kitchen roll and just take away some of that print, just where I think, oh, could probably get a bit more colour in there. I mean, this is white, this bit, so, but I may change, this boat was white, but I may change the colour. We'll see. You can just about read the words there, but again, like I say, if need be, I can go over that quite easily with, you know, either like a archival pen, or I could paint over it, so that's not really a problem. Okay, and then I would like to get obviously some blue in the water, so, but I don't want to take away too much of this. I need to kind of remember that's kind of the boat, the sort of shadow and reflection of the boat in the water. So, you know, I do want to make sure I've got some area to add a bit more colour. Some at the side here as well. Right, so annoyingly, because I'm recording on my phone, I haven't got the original image to kind of go, you know, use as a reference. So what I would like to remember to do next time I actually do a print is to have a colour copy of, or especially when I'm reverse painting, is to have a colour copy beside me. I think that would be a great idea. Okay, and then we'll get some of these acrylics out. So let's see what we've got. So we've got some of Colour Planet of Van Gogh. You might say Van Gogh or Van Gogh. I think people say it differently, but I guess it depends what you said when you were younger, doesn't it? Right, so I've got, so let's go through the colours. We have got, are they actually going to tell me the colours? Okay. So I've got a couple of little brushes that came with a set. I don't want brushes that are too big, so I think I will probably just use these. And we're going to get going with this then. So I think I will use, I'm going to use a bit of green in the water. So they've just got a sort of nub in the lid to open up. I'm loving this sort of green, mossy or sort of olive type green. I'm just going to add some of that in the water because, as I said, it was actually fairly sludgy, so it had quite a green tinge to it, which I quite liked. Okay, now I can see that signet there, so I think I'm just going to do the one, to be honest, because that's about the only one I can see properly. So I'm just adding in various bits of green. I'm just going to do it over those sort of darker areas. So I'm going to go over all this nice sort of minty green for the boat. Now obviously remember, you're going to really see these brush strokes. Especially, I mean, it really does depend on which which acrylics you're using, and this one in comparison to the olive one seems a little bit thin to me, to be honest. I haven't added any water to this brush, but it almost is acting a bit like I have, so we're definitely going to see the brush strokes in this. But then, you know, a lot of the Impressionist painters, that was what you saw anyway, so maybe it will turn out to be a good thing. Maybe that's kind of partially what the paint makers were going for, I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll see how it looks once we've finished. As I said, it's all experimentation. I'm going to go over the text because hopefully you'll still be able to see that behind, because obviously that's printing on the top. It's like a first layer, so that will end up on the top. Right, okay, so there's a bit of our boat. Let's just see if I can get a bit of that excess paint off and just do these bits here. So I think we'll have this top bit matching. Okay. Don't very often do the reverse. I don't very often do the reverse painting myself, but I've seen some lovely. And that again, does that match that? If I do that. It's not focusing properly, but you can probably see there that that blue does not match that blue, does it, at all? Oh my goodness. Anyway, I guess that's why, you know, these sets aren't always picked up by people, because sometimes they don't quite match what you're looking for. You need to know they're definitely the colours they represent on the tube, really, don't you? Or the colour that they told you it is. So I'm just going to add a darker blue. Well, this is a mixture of that blue, which should be darker anyway, but isn't. And a mixture of the sort of olivey green or moss green. Okay, so that's the bottom of our boat. And then I think what I'll do is add a bit of black, maybe to that blue, and just use that in the water here. So maybe we'll go for a bit of blue up here as well. There we go, it just fills a bit in, doesn't it? Okay, right, so let's add a little bit of black to that. At least I'm assuming this is black, but I don't know, it's it's almost like a look, see, that looks like black to me. You see? There we go, black. And it's like a sort of very dark green. Yeah, very strange, this set. Well, I'm happy with that for here, really, to be honest. For that reflection, all that, it's kind of the shadow casting from the boat, isn't it? But yeah, if you were planning on using particular colours that you saw on the tubes, then watch out. It's not necessarily going to give you what you want there. Right, we'll do a bit of reflection work like that. There we go. Maybe we'll add a bit of white, because the Impressionists tended to use that tone in the water as well, didn't they? They didn't mind that sort of pastel, almost like pastel effect, which yeah is very nice. I think I want a bit more of the white. Maybe I will. There we go. Just add a little bit of that over some of those sort of areas. Happy with this now, how it's turned out. I'm happy with the level of the paint, because obviously I'm going to add some more detail over the top, so I just turned it over there, and that's what we've got at the moment. So we can add a bit more definition, that's fine. But it's amazing, you know, when you've got a lot of that kind of original print there, it's amazing how different it looks like that way compared to this way, because you've got like a lot of detail there, as you can see, but it's quite subtle on the other side. But I quite like that about it, to be honest. I mean, you know, we could just do a painting with acrylics without any image transfer base, and it would look very different. But that's, you know, that's why we do these things, isn't it? To see what we think. So I'm just going to dry this off now, and then I can give it a pull with, I'll probably just go for my usual titanium buff, I think, just for a base, which is this shade. Okay, just, I like that because it's quite a nice warm colour. So I'm just going to give this a dry. I'm just going to go in then with that titanium buff. I could lift it with a matte medium, so I've got a clear background, but I always feel more confident, to be honest, using Titan buff for lifting if I'm not, you know, too fussed about the colour, because I've just had the odd experience in the past where matte medium hasn't quite lifted it as I've wanted it to. So I figure, you know, you put a lot of effort into painting and you've got something that works well for you, stick with it sometimes if it's not going to interfere, you know, too much with the sort of mood of your piece. I mean, this is quite heavily painted anyway, so it's not really going to, you know, make too much difference. Now, the acrylic that is underneath is quite thick, so I am going to put a slightly thicker layer than normal to pick up with, just because I want to make sure I'm getting everything. You can see like some of these sort of bits here, look, where I can still see the original acrylic that I used coming through. So I just want to make sure I've got a little bit more on there. Hopefully it will pull most of it. Let's use a piece of our usual watercolour card, and I think go for the smoother side, lay that down. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to dry the back of this, and I'm also going to weight it down for a little while. This watercolour card is very forgiving. It does pull well, and it doesn't mind if you put, you know, quite a lot. Well, it doesn't mind if you leave it on the plate for a long time, put it that way. Some papers don't like that. If they get wet and then you leave them on for a long time, it's very hard to pull them off. This one is fine. Right, so left it for about 10 minutes to dry. Give it a little bit of a cool blast and put those objects on top. And now we're going to give it a pull. I'm going to go from this top corner in the hope that that will give it a bit of a chance. Missed a bit there, but fingers crossed. This missed a bit at the top there as well. So some of the acrylic bits that I've added from that British Gallery set are coming off a little bit, but looks like the majority is okay. I think that must have just been some of the thicker layers we had. So got a bit of a horrible crease there now, but let's lay it flat, see what we get. I can flatten that out, I'm sure. Yeah, not too bad once we've flattened it out. So yeah, I can see like some of those chunkier layers of torn, But like I say, we can probably just go in and fix that now, to be honest. So what I can do is, I've still got my acrylics out. I can just go in and do a bit of a touch-up job on that. I quite like, I don't know if you can see, but it's kind of giving us some sort of crackle effects here. Can you see that really close up? I quite like that, to be honest. So, you know, certain different brands give you different qualities. And I don't mind the odd, to be honest, I don't mind the odd white bit. I think that kind of gives it a bit of character. In fact, I'm kind of almost tempted just to go in with the odd sort of bit of mixed in white, just to give it a bit more of an effect like that. So, you know, give it a bit more of that sort of slightly impressionistic vibe about it. Let's do another, there we go, yeah, quite like that. The one thing I may do is just do a bit more green over here like this, just to, you know, show that there's some sort of plant there. Same with this one, just a slightly darker green, just to take away from the all that sort of lighter green we've got there. And I think I'm going to leave this little section down the bottom as it is. I kind of quite like that effect. So let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, there we go. So that is the finished result. Let me know what you think, guys. I don't think I'm going to mess with it much more, to be honest, because I quite like the way it's turned out, and I don't want to overwork this one. So I do hope you've found that tutorial useful, and I do hope you'll have a go at doing a bit of reverse painting. Let me know what you think of the National Gallery paints that I used. So obviously that was the set. Be interesting to know what you thought of them. Obviously using that sort of impressionistic style of building up colour didn't necessarily work quite so well when pulling it, but I would imagine probably heavier books, waiting a bit longer, that probably would have solved that problem anyway. But I'm not the most patient of people when it comes to waiting for things to dry, which is bad, but you know, it's just one of those things. So anyway, oh, one thing I did like, again, remember I said about the crackle effect? You can really see that coming through in certain areas. Let's just see if I can show you again. See, you've got the crackle effect there, and up here, down here. So again, maybe this sort of, oh, that, yeah, showing there. Maybe the texture of the paints were, you know, maybe it did work pretty well for that purpose as well. So I think I'll definitely use this technique again. I'm pleased with the finished result, and I do like the Van Gogh colour palette. I do really like those sort of blues, greens, oranges and browns that he's used. If you like this tutorial, please do drop me a like and subscribe to the channel. If you hit the bell and all notifications, that will let you know whenever I've got a new video coming out. It's free to subscribe, so you don't have to pay anything at all. Have a great week crafting, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.